Hi, Stampin' friends. Welcome to my Stampin' Piece studio. I'm so glad you joined me today. I'm Mary Knabe in Westerville, Ohio. And I love the card I am going to demonstrate for you. It is using the Pop-Up Petals stamp set and dies. And I'm going to do a few things with it. The main thing is I want to use it to show you how easy it is to make pop-up cards using the dies. And the other thing is I want to give you some tips for stamping some of the images. And I will walk you through all of that as I demonstrate this wonderful pop-up card for you. So once again, Pop-Up Petals, stamp set, and dies. Okay. Trying to decide what should I do first. I'm going to show you some stamping first. I have stamped and die cut all the pieces I need to make the card I'm going to show you, but I wanted to give you some tips. In this project, this card, I need two vases. I wanted them the same color, but then I decided maybe I should make something a little bit different. So what I did was I stamped in Lost Lagoon at full strength ink, and then I stamped again to get a lighter shade of the Lost Lagoon, and then I would die cut and use both of these vases, just like I did here. I'll be putting one on the outside and one on the inside of my card. The other thing I wanted to mention, this is the flower bouquet I'm using. Again, I'll need two of these as well as two butterflies. So butterflies, easy peasy. I stamped with Night of Navy, and then I color with the light blueberry bushel. Super easy, okay? Now, the flower bouquet involves some various steps of stamping. So I want to tell you what I did and why. So I decided I would stamp, wait a second, I think I got the wrong one here. I decided I would stamp the outline of the flower bouquet in Pretty in Pink. Okay. And then I okay, stop. I'm getting ahead of myself here. So stamp the outline of the flower bouquet in the Pretty Peacock. The next thing I did was I used my crushed curry to stamp the insides of those flowers. And as you can see here, this is one stamp, okay? One stamp, and you can stamp the inside of those flowers. And it was very, very easy to center those flowers right where they should be with the Pretty Peacock outline, okay? And then the next step would be to stamp the petals. Now this is where it got a little tricky, and I want to tell you something here. To help you with the direction on, and you can see it right here, the left flower of this bouquet is more egg-shaped or oval-shaped, so that's, you would match the centers up that way. Then this also has the same egg or oval shape center flower, so you know that would be good. Now to make sure I had the direction correct, before I put this stamp on my block, I used, you can use a Sharpie or one of your dark Stampin' Blends markers, and just put an arrow there so I knew that it meant that is the top. That will make matching these up much, much easier. Now, the other thing I want to tell you about this is These pieces are very small, and I don't want you to walk away from this or get stressed by using this or choose to not purchase this if it's been on your list because you see this. But what I want you to see here is I didn't have a perfect matchup of those gorgeous grape petals. Can you see how some of them I have sort of a white edge inside the petals? You don't need to try again and again and again and again, because I have two ways that you can fix that. The first way is using a Stampin' Blends. Now, Stampin' Blends do not come in Gorgeous Grape like the ink I used, okay? But Highland Heather is a nice coordinating color. So I can just take my Stampin' Blend and fill in those white edges. Okay, so that's one way to do it. Excuse me. That cough is hanging on. Not nearly as bad as it was, but it's hanging on. The other way to fill in where some of those white spaces are, again, so I filled in these white spaces with my Highland Heather dark Stampin' Blend marker. I've still got some others where I want to fill in that white. So I can take, just wanted to make sure it was clean. I usually try to clean off the ink on my blender pens before I put them away, but I do always like to check just to make sure. So you can just tap the point of your blender pen in. You don't have to push hard, just tap, tap, tap. And then you can use that to fill in. And the blender pen has a nice point to it, making it easy to fill in those tiny white spaces that I want to be filled in with the Gorgeous Grape color. Okay, so if you are stamping and have trouble matching up those solid petals, remember these two tips for filling in the white spaces. Don't try to stamp and stamp again and stamp again until you get it just right. You know why? Because that's very frustrating. It's very stressful. Stamping and paper crafting should be fun. So use these two tips of either the Stampin' Blend marker or the blender pen and an ink pad to fill in those white spaces. Now I know somebody's going to ask, and I typically forget to show you, when you're cleaning your blender pens, there is a solution in here. You don't want to run this underwater. What you want to do is just go back and forth, turning the tip, and when it goes clear, you know it's now clean and you can put it away. Okay? And blender pens are also great if you don't have all of the ink pad colors. You can do some outline stamping and then filling in with like watercolor pencils or other colors, things like that. Or I meant to say, if you don't have the markers, I would go with the blender pens and ink pads. Okay? So I hope those tips are helpful for you. I'm going to set this aside. Oh, and I did color this. The leaves and stems, the outlines were stamped with Pretty Peacock, and I filled them in with light Lost Lagoon. So 2 different colors, but they're in the same color family. But when I fill in with the Lost Lagoon light shade, I can still see the veins of the leaf that I stamped. Okay, so there's some tips for using some of these stamps Okay. And of course, you can apply these tips to other stamping as well. So now let's get started making the card. When you're making a pop-up card, you're actually going to be creating a card within a card, okay? So I have two different card bases here. The first one is the standard size, 5.5 by 8.5. I scored at 4.25 down the center, and I'm going to give this a nice strong crease with my bone folder. The other one is 5.25 by 8.25. Okay, so 5.5 by 8.5. This is 5.25 by 8.25, and I scored it 4 1/8 on the long side. Okay, let me repeat that. This is standard size. This is a little bit smaller, 5.25 by 8.25, and I scored it 4 1/8 on the long side. Okay, so let's go ahead and build the outside of our card. I'm looking for, here it is. I already pulled it out. I'm going to build the outside of the card, but before I do, I want to adhere these flower bouquets to the vases. So it looks like they're inside the vases. So I'm just going to use a little bit of multi-purpose glue and place the top of the vase over the ends of the bouquet. I'll set those aside to dry. I've chosen, this is Perennial Lavender. This check or houndstooth is from the Perennial Lavender DSP. Just a nice neutral, but still adds some interest with the pattern. And then I have this piece that measures 3 3/4 inch by 1 1/4, 3 3/4 by 1 1/4. And I am adding all of these dimensions to my blog post. So after you watch this, I'll go through and update the blog post with the video, and then you'll be able to find all the dimensions that you need there. So I'm going to take this first one with the light colored vase where I stamped off. Doesn't really matter which one you put on the front or on the inside. I'm going to put a dimensional right over where those two pieces meet, just for added security, I'll say. And I've also got my sentiment. The sentiment, I started with a piece 2 3/4 inches by 3/4 of an inch. Of course, whatever banner or sentiment shape you used is dependent on the sentiment stamp and its size. So I'm going to place this right here. And then I'm going to adhere my sentiment and tucking under the left end, right under that edge of the vase. And then I'm going to put a butterfly on here just because. I'm going to pop it up with a mini dimensional. Whoops. Just like that. So now I have the front of my main card base done. Now I want to work on the inside. The first thing I need to do to this 5 1/4 by 8 1/4 scored at 4 1/8 cardstock is one bit of die cutting. In the pop-up Petals die set, there are two sizes of these. They actually look like doors, don't they? Okay. They don't cut out a rectangle, but they cut and score so that this becomes the pop-up portion, okay? There is a smaller one, which I'm using, and then there's a larger one. If you're doing something like maybe a large happy birthday sentiment on the inside, you might want to go with the larger one. I matched or chose the pop-up die based on the size of my vase, okay? Because the main part of my base pretty much covers that up. So to do this, it's so simple. And I've done pop-up cards before in the past, and I've used my X-Acto knife and cut the slits and all that. This is so easy, so easy. So when you want to put this wherever you want your pop-up to be, if you want your pop-up in the center, put it in the center. If you want it off to the left, put it there. I want mine off to the right. But just know that this is what cuts your pop-up out. And there are these, can you see these? I want to hold it up closer. Can you see these little notches, those little triangular points? Those are there to help you line up the die so that the points are right along your score line. Okay, right along the score line. That means it'll be centered top to bottom. And then you just roll it through your machine, easy peasy. Let me get this out of the way. So this is what I get when I've cut with this die, okay? It cut the left and right edges, and it scored top, middle, and bottom. So what I'm going to do now is fold my inside card base, but I'm going to push the pop-up part through, okay? And as I do that, I'm going to press down on those little score lines, okay? Now I can go back in with my bone folder and go over all those score lines, even the small ones, making sure they have good creases. So this is what that pop-up feature does for you. One quick little die, all it takes, okay? So now I need to decorate the inside of my card base, and I'm going to use this. And I think I went ahead while I was cleaning up my mess. I had a lot of things going, like 3 different projects going on, and I thought I need to clean up my mess before I get started with you. Well, didn't I put away the sentiment that I want? So on this card, I have a sentiment on the front. Thanks for being there. And on the inside, I'm going to stamp, you get me, and I appreciate that. Do you all have a person that you feel like really gets you? Could be a spouse or a friend, maybe a daughter or sister. Could be anybody, but it sure is nice when you can be having a conversation or just need some kind of support and you have somebody that totally understands you. Now I'm going to stamp it up here. I could stamp down here like I normally do, but I'm a note writer, so I'm just going to leave this space. But I could put it right here. I'm just going a little different today and putting it right here. Oops, I kind of jiggled my Y there. Then I'm going to add my vase of flowers to the pop-up, and I want you to see where I'm putting it. I want to adhere it to this front part of the pop-up only. So I'll add a little glue there Don't go crazy with the glue because you don't want it to seep out, because this is the inside of your card. I'm putting the vase down pretty much to that score line, that fold at the bottom. You don't want to go past it. And press that down. So now this is what I have. You can even press it this way to make sure that's holding. Okay, and I'm just going to add this butterfly. I'll add this one with a glue dot since it's on the, or a dot of glue since it's on the inside of the card, and not use a dimensional. Okay, so now I've got my two card bases, the outer card base and the inner pop-up card base. This is how I put them together. And I'm going to fold this, and I'm going to start with the bottom on top. Okay, the bottom on top. Add some adhesive. I like to have some extra around that pop-up part. Okay, so I went around that a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is, having it closed, I'm getting right up to the fold of the larger card base. And I'm making sure that I have pretty equal margin of the color cardstock on the left, bottom, and right sides. I'm going to press that down. Okay, so I've got that done. Now, here's how I adhere the top. So I'm going to hold this closed. I've got my adhesive on, and I'm going to take this, and starting at the fold, I'm just going to press till I get to the bottom. And there is the pop-up card. What do you think? Again, the highlight of this bundle for me is, and I love all the sentiments, I love the images, definitely something that's very versatile. I love that we can die cut so many pieces, but I love the dies that do the pop-up cutting for us. So this is what sold me on this bundle, having these dies that cut out your pop-up piece and score it so nicely as well. Now on this one, and you could make horizontal cards like I did, or you can make a vertical card. And again, if you are doing something larger, you might want to go with the larger die. The other thing is, I have seen people using this one for their pop-up in a vertical position card, and these you could die cut and you fold over the left top and the right top edge so it looks like a box. So cute. Box or present, and then you can put I don't know, for Easter you could put that cute die cut Easter bunny behind it, like you're giving it to somebody. Or same thing with the flowers. It would just be coming out of a cute little box, gift box. Okay, so again, and like I said earlier, I've made pop-up cards before. I would make pencil marks, measure, use my X-Acto knife to cut the slits, and then I very carefully had to fold this in and pinch with my fingers to get those folds. It's doable, but now that I have this, oh my goodness, I'm going to be making a lot more pop-up cards. So again, the bundle is Pop-Up Petals, stamp set, and dies. And the designer series paper I used, even this pretty peacock, can you see it's a very subtle print on there, but that too is from the Perennial Lavender designer series paper. Okay, does anybody have the pop-up petals? I feel like it's one that I used as soon as I got it for a project I was working on in a collaborative group I'm a part of. But then it kind of got pushed to the wayside. And I do feel like it's a stamp set or a bundle that kind of has been overlooked, but yet I think it could be so wonderful and so versatile for so many people. So I hope you've enjoyed today's demonstration of making pop-up cards easily with the Pop-Up Petals stamp set and dies. And I look forward to seeing you again this week on Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. That'll be February 26th, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on my YouTube channel, Stampin' Peace with Mary Knabe. If you like what you've seen today, please look at other videos, enjoy those, and get some more creative inspiration and helpful tips. And please subscribe to my channel so that you never miss a video. And if you would be so kind as to refer my channel to other people, I would appreciate greatly. A referral to me is like the best kind of compliment. Okay? Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you soon.